Well, we're back and we're talking about the third N.E.R.D. album, Seeing Sounds. Overall, I'd say Seeing Sounds is N.E.R.D.'s most consistent album in terms of quality, and although it still doesn't beat Fly or Die as my all-time favorite album by them, I feel like it's the only album I can almost say has zero misses. Like, there isn't a wasted second on the entire record, almost. I'd also say this is their most experimental album, with it being the most diverse in terms of the genres it tackles, and having the most variety of unique sounds and production. According to interviews by the band at the time, this album was made to be played live, and that isn't at all a surprise because all of these songs have such a large stadium energy to them. Those big hooks and those super energetic drums really add to that general feel. In a way, this album feels like a mix of the best elements of the first two albums, with the rock, rap, and R&B influence of In Search Of mixed with the funk rock and jazz influence from Fly or Die. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into these tracks.
When I was a kid growing up.
The album starts out with a spoken word intro by Pharrell as he describes a time where he literally saw sounds as a kid, which is what inspired the title of the album. The narration is backed by this beautiful and very orchestral instrumental that really adds an almost mystical quality to the intro, and that transitions into the first real track on the album, Time for Some Action, which is a pretty decent song. It actually reminds me of In My Mind, the first solo album Pharrell ever put out that came out 2 years before this one. The highlight of this track is definitely that bridge where the beat switches up, which will happen a lot on this album. Like, there are a lot of beat switches on this record, and they all work so well even though they seem kinda out of left field at times. Anyway, Time for Some Action is one of the best openers N.E.R.D. has ever made, and it's a pretty good song on its own as well. Your girls are going out tonight. All the planning is so big, right? Everyone knows it's absolutely insane. Purposely so, of course. The frantic drums, that jittery bass line, and that chanting chorus. This is one of the best singles N.E.R.D. has ever put out, and it remains a live staple to this very day. This song also showcases a new style of hook writing that the band incorporates, where they're a lot more simple and repetitive, but that isn't really a bad thing. It actually works for the vibe the song sets out to create. This song is about cocaine, and it's not very subtle about it. It's one of the most energetic tracks on the album until it switches up on that bridge, and it slows down and has that gorgeous piano section. The way the beat drops when the final chorus kicks in is one of the best moments in the entire album. This track is awesome. There's also a remix to this song with Kanye, Lupe Fiasco, and Pusha T, and it exists. It's okay. Out of all the songs on this album, Windows is the one that sounds like it would fit the most on Fly or Die with its funk rock influence. The lyrics are not great on this one, but that's kind of tradition with this band. Each album has to have at least one song with questionable lyrics. For In Search Of, it's Tape You, for Fly or Die, it's Backseat Love, and for Seeing Sounds, it's Windows. Don't get me wrong though, it's still a good song despite the lyrics. And I still like singing along to them, even though they're kinda questionable. I love the instrumentation, it probably has some of the best drumming on the entire album, and the way Pharrell delivers his vocals in this one definitely sets it apart from his other performances. Very catchy and fun song. In my opinion, Antimatter has Shay Haley's best performance on the album. His verse has always been one of the best elements of the song. This track is also a real highlight in terms of the hip-hop influence on the album, and has that classic Neptune's production going at full force. And it once again has a really great bridge. The drums are apparently pots and pans on the song, as well as a few other songs on the record, and it works really well to give the song a really unique soundscape, especially in terms of the percussion. This song is also great live. If I ever see N.E.R.D. perform, I really hope they play this track. I don't understand you. You the school's biggest cutter. Spaz feels like a continuation of the vibe set by the last track, but I personally think it delves even deeper than that track did and utilizes its sound better, and has another stadium level hook and stands as the most energetic and hard-hitting track on the album. Pharrell's vocals add to the punk sound of this song, and it really reminds me of stuff they'd be doing on their later albums like No One Ever Really Dies. The energy captured on the song is incredible, especially during that bridge and that final chorus. Now we're starting to get into absolute classic territory with what I think is the best leg on the album. Yeah You is a real highlight and slows things down a bit, but still manages to have impeccable energy. The bass line on this track is amazing, and we also get some great saxophone work from Chad, which adds a lot to the more jazzy and soul-inspired feel. Chad doesn't really play sax that much during N.E.R.D. songs, which is kind of a shame, but when he does, it always hits. We also get a great Che Haley verse towards the middle, and it's another one of my favorite performances by him. Yeah You is a fantastic song with an insanely catchy hook.
Texting me 100 times, calling me 100 times. Sooner or later, it all comes crashing down.
Sooner or Later is one of the more emotional and personal feeling songs on the album, which you know I'm all for. There are a few other big, reflective, and melancholic songs in this album. This is probably the best one out of the bunch. The track is about missed opportunities and trying to move on from them, and the lyrics evoke that feeling in a really unique way. The piano is beautiful, the harmonies during the verses are beautiful, everything about this track is gorgeous. The switch between the delicate piano chords and the heavy hitting drums and the electric guitar bits serve as a great contrast. And this song is 6 minutes long, and it's one of the longest N.E.R.D. songs, and there isn't a wasted second. Like, if you're gonna make a really long song, I think you should utilize that time correctly, and this song really does. Especially during that 3-minute guitar solo at the end, it's mind-blowing. This is a super emotional and amazing song. The next song is Happy, not to be confused with the other song Pharrell made that's called Happy. I still have no idea why both songs have the same name. Anyway, this song is way better, and it's my favorite song on the album, and one of my favorite N.E.R.D. songs, period. This is honestly the most personal feeling N.E.R.D. song, and the lyrics mean a lot to me. I'd go as far to say these are the best lyrics on any N.E.R.D. song. And the lyrics aren't usually their strong suit, but the ones on Happy are legitimately really good and meaningful. As always, the song has a great hook, and it also has another great outro where we get another really good guitar solo. This might be a bit cheesy in its execution, and I'm probably the only person who thinks it's the best song on the album, but F it, I love this song a lot.
Everybody, let's go!
Killjoy is definitely the worst song on the album, but it's not a bad song though. It's pretty catchy and fun. It actually seems like it would fit on In Search Of, at least the rock version, due to how rap rock centric it is in its sound. The lyrics are not great, definitely the worst lyrics on the album, but the percussion and guitar work more than make up for that in my opinion, and it's legitimately just a really fun song. I would definitely take the worst song off of this album over the worst songs on some other N.E.R.D. albums I will get to later.
Here they go again, wearing disguises, your friend, watch the sitting here in this white path.
Love Bomb is my second favorite song on the album. It's a very beautiful and very heartfelt song. This is a song that really stood out to me when I first listened to this album all the way back in 2018, so it's always had a really special place in my heart because of that. I absolutely love the horn section in the chorus as well as the strings. They made the song feel so climactic and cinematic, especially towards the end where the chorus hits the hardest. That bridge is beautiful and very emotional, and the lyrics in this one are great as well.
I'm trying to unblind a few.
You Know What is yet another banger of a song that ended up getting pretty popular despite never being released as a single. It's another very personal song. It's about catching feelings for a friend with benefits and how that complicates things. There's another great switch up during the bridge, and we also have some very emotive vocals from Pharrell. This is actually a very open and emotionally vulnerable song, which is always great to hear from this band. There's also another great hook and an impeccable bass line.
You try to keep your feelings inside the rope, but then you wave it down when you see me like, hey.
We have now reached the last song on the album, Laugh About It, which is my second favorite album closer from the band, right behind Find My Way. We have some great guitar work on this track, especially in the intro. This is yet another personal song and seems to wrap up a lot of the relationship themes that are present across the rest of the album. There's also a great narration at the end which sort of calls back to the narration at the beginning, which is cool. Overall, great closer and a great track on its own. Seeing Sound stands as my second favorite N.E.R.D. album right behind Fly or Die. A lot of my favorite songs by them are on this album, and I've been listening to these tracks on repeat since I was like 11 years old. This also closes what I believe is the best era of the band. I have a lot of mixed feelings regarding their next album, Nothing, but we'll get there when we get there. Anyway, that's enough out of me. Goodbye.